Welcome back to the Grit and Grace podcast, where we shine a light on the women balancing life, family, and the cattle business with strength and authenticity. I'm your host, Rachel Cottrell, and today we're joined by Becky Allan, a military brat who grew up with no experience in the cattle business, who is now one of the most successful women, Hereford stock show moms, and entrepreneurs in the business. From raising a family in the cattle business to building a thriving merch business, Becky knows firsthand what it takes to juggle long hours in the barn, big goals for her kids, and a deep commitment to the livestock industry. So get ready for an honest, encouraging, and down-to-earth conversation with a lady who truly walks the walk. This is an episode you won't want to miss. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Grit and Grace podcast. We are so excited for you to join us today on another one of our episodes as we launch this new podcast. Today's guest, we are very excited to have. Becky Allan is an amazing figure in the livestock industry, and she wears more hats than most of us women can even count, and she wears them all with grit and grace. She is the owner of the Brand Co., which is a promotional products company that creates some of the most iconic merch that you see out there in the cattle business currently. And then with her husband, Dave Allan, she also runs Gene Source, which is a semen sales company, markets semen worldwide. And on top of that, she is a longtime dedicated stock show mom to 3 boys. So welcome, Becky. We're glad to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Rachel. I appreciate it.
I know the podcast is new and you may not have heard of some of the episodes, but we like to start each podcast with just some fun icebreaker questions that are like quick fire questions to help the audience get to know you in a fun little way. So if you're ready, single or married?
Married.
Did you marry your first love or did it take a while for you to find him?
Well, I met Dave after we both were at Texas A&M together, but didn't know each other at Texas A&M. I was working in Austin, and he came to visit his sister, so from Iowa.
Okay, cool. We're going to get into that later, but you're from Texas and Dave was from somewhere else, right?
Dave's from Nebraska, and I was a military brat.
Oh, okay. So tell us about your kids.
We have Tyler, who's 25, and now his fiance, Haley. And then we have Mason, who's at Texas Tech on the livestock judging team. We have Landry, who's in 8th grade.
Yeah, so I know Molly and Landry are close to the same age, and I always love following him, and of course your other boys too. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like or dislike Facebook? So 10 is like I love it, 1 is I hate
Probably 5.
it. Okay, why?
I don't know. It's just I I guess we all get so busy now and there's just not as much time, and I don't know, it just seems like there's more sponsored ads than content anymore. And I think people are on just such different platforms now.
Yeah, I know. I think Facebook is declining. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like Instagram?
8.
So better.
You better. I think it's because I like pictures so much, and I think Instagram, I just love Instagram compared to Facebook now.
Yeah. Are you on TikTok?
I'm on, but not actively using. I just have it on my phone. Don't do anything with it.
Is Landry on TikTok?
No, he's not on any social media.
Oh, okay. So my daughter, I have to admit, Annie, who's in 5th grade, she is not on social media, but Molly is all over TikTok. She is in that generation.
Oh, yes. I think I say he's not on social media. He has an iPad, so I shouldn't say he's not on social media, but he does not have his own accounts. I say his brothers ruined that for him.
Yeah. Okay. So on a daily basis, how fixed up would you say you are on a daily basis? Like hair, makeup, full makeup, or versus just
None.
none?
Ask my boys. None. I'm not a real big makeup person or a hair person. Actually, I was really glad we're not on camera today. So I'm not really good at the makeup or hair. Thank God I'm a boy mom. So,
You always look great though when I see you.
oh gosh, thank you. Takes a lot of effort.
That was fun. Okay, so in this next section, we have a spot on our website on Ranch House Designs on the Grit and Grace page where people can send in questions. And we're getting really good questions from wide range of ages. But we had this one come in and I thought it was perfect for you. And so we like to have each match up a specific question with each guest on the podcast. And so this one said, I've always wanted to start my own side business, but I'm scared of all the risk. As a woman who owns multiple businesses and also raising a family, what advice would you give someone who wants to take that leap into entrepreneurship? I would love to hear your thoughts on this just to kind of get us started.
My thought for this, or my answer to this question, would be do it and do it now. Just because, especially the way the internet, everything is at your fingertips right now. You can literally start your own business in 5 minutes by starting an Instagram page or a Facebook page. And there's no risk anymore as far as starting your own business because you can start it without any overhead. You can start it in your living room with nothing. So I say just do it and start it. And I've always been not afraid of failure. I think failure makes us stronger. And I think you just have to try things and you just have to keep going. And that's why we have three businesses, is because we took the risk. And I can't stress that enough, that everybody has so much at their fingertips right now as far as how to videos and everything's at your fingertips, and there's no reason you can't start something today.
That is some great advice. Okay, when did you start the brand co?
I started the brand company 23 years ago. I actually started with a friend of mine, Tessa Bowman. She's from Fremont, and she came to Tyler's first birthday party. And we were talking about what I was doing. And I was really in a transition because I had just had Tyler and trying to decide if I wanted to do sales like I had been doing or marketing. I really enjoyed both so much. She said, well, you should come with me and do what I do. And so I started with her, and that really introduced me to the promotional products business. And I absolutely fell in love with it because I was already familiar with it. I had already ordered promotional products for Deer Valley when we were there and Sullivan's when we were there. And so I already knew, how to order hats and stuff like that. So it was just one of those things where I loved it so much, and that's how I got my start. And so it was 23 years ago, and then it was just our network was who I started selling to first, and it was awesome. It was just so much fun.
Well, I did the math here. I was just kind of thinking about what you just said in your advice. So that was 2002, and that's sort of about the same time when I started Ranch House. But if we wanted to promote our businesses then, really the best and number one outlet we had was running an ad in the Showbox magazine. I don't know if you remember that or not. Or, you know, and so if you think about that, we would have had to run our ad, we would have had to wait for a month for it to come. We would have had to pay, anywhere from probably $300 to $600 to run this ad. But I'm thinking to myself in a funny way, my daughter Molly has air quotes started businesses and started Instagrams for these businesses literally in less than an hour.
Less than an hour. That's what's so different. I mean, to to get clients, I had to literally get in, like drive in the car to Austin, or I had to get in front of people in order to sell. And the funny thing is just recently I've talked about this. I think it's nearly like full circle. Last week I went to Kansas City, or 2 weeks ago, I guess I went to Kansas City to talk to the Herefords about the World Hereford Conference. And I have really enjoyed getting in front of customers again and doing face to face meetings because I think everybody is drowning in emails and email threads and text threads and everything. And I'm kind of going back to the basics again, where I just go meet them in person and they can touch and feel the products and we can talk about things and we can go over their calendars and see what events they have coming up. And I've really kind of gone all the way back around to my original how I got clients. And it's really kind of been fun.
That is some great advice. It makes me reminisce. Well, let's continue kind of down this path. Let's back up a little bit and start with your background. You said you're a military brat. Tell us through that journey and how you met Dave and in your first early career.
My dad was Air Force, and we moved every 3 years until I went to Texas A&M. That was the longest I had lived anywhere when until I met Dave. We got really lucky. We got overseas assignments. We were in England, Australia, California, Virginia, Texas. Italy was where I went to high school, and I finished up my senior year in Pennsylvania, actually. And then my dad was a Texas A&M graduate from the Corps of Cadets, and that was really the only place I was dead set on going. So I went to Texas A&M. My parents ended up moving back to Germany, and I just absolutely loved Texas A&M. Thought I was going to be a foreign ambassador because that's all I had known is traveling and going overseas until I got into ag development, and Dr. Chris Townsend was key in that. And I fell in love with that major, and that's how I got into ag. I never thought I would be an ag. My mom was raised on a dairy farm. My dad was raised in New York. So that was not my goal, was to be an ag. I just happened to be in ag development where I loved what they offered. And thank goodness, because it led me to meet my future sister-in-law at Texas A&M. And then her and I moved to Austin. I worked for Abbott Labs. She worked for Texas Quarter Horse Association. And we thought, well, we might as well live together in Austin. So we did. And then Dave was working for John Sullivan at the time. And we always joke because Dave didn't get a day off in 365 days at John Sullivan's. So we said the weekend he came down to Austin, I think he decided he needed to find a wife. So we ended up starting to date after he moved down, and the rest is history. We've been married, I think it'll be 28 years this year.
So when Dave was working for John Sullivan, was he based out of Iowa or was he based out of Texas?
He was based out of Dunlap, Iowa, and I was in Austin.
Oh my gosh. So long distance. But long distance before Snapchat, before Facebook.
Yes, we were laughing about this the other day because I was working for Abbott, so I was literally running all over Central Texas, and I remember stopping and using payphones to call him, and then he was in the show barn, so then his brother would have to go get him, or he'd have to go to the office. It's just so comical now looking back on what we had to do, to make that work. So, in my first cattle sale I ever went to was Express Ranches, which is kind of comical also because that I thought that they were all that fantastic. So, yes. So he kind of fooled me right off the bat. It was kind of a fun experience. So,
You're like expecting Larry Gatlin to play at every single cow sale.
exactly, exactly. So the funny thing is when I came into the cattle business, I knew nobody. It was just incredible because I look back now and I remember sitting on a show box in Denver, not knowing anybody, and I think back and think, oh my gosh, I bet all these people thought, who did Dave bring to the barn? So, but I've kind of thrown myself into it, and I love it. So.
They were probably jealous. Like all the stock show girls were probably jealous because I mean Dave is a catch, and they're like, "Who's this girl?"
Oh my gosh, it's just so funny to look back.
So then when y'all got married, where did you move to Iowa?
I moved to Dunlap, Iowa in February, if you can imagine. We met and we were engaged by December in, like Dave says, 5 months. So very quickly. And then I moved to Dunlap in February. And that was a shock to go from Austin to Dunlap, Iowa, which was funny. But we love John and Dee Dee. And then we moved. Then John sold the herd to Deer Valley and the limousine herd. And so we ended up moving to Fayetteville, Tennessee with Deer Valley, and we were there. So it was a very quick, crazy first year of marriage.
Did y'all have any children at this point?
No, no children at that point. We ended up staying at Deer Valley for about a year, and then we finally decided we wanted to be back in Texas. So we drove a U-Haul with a jet ski attached to it back to Texas with no job.
No job.
No jobs. We just took off and came back, and we were like, we're going to figure this out. So we did.
Where did y'all settle in Texas?
We ended up in Stonewall, and that's really when we started. David started Bar A before that, but really that's when Bar A was him and I. We started doing club calves from Stonewall, and then we ended up in Schulenburg after when Dave was working for my brother-in-law in the stalker operation. So we had quite a few moves and transitions in that stage.
Yeah. Now, we honestly, in the intro, we didn't even mention Bar A, which is a significant, which is y'all's cattle operation and is a significant part of y'all's life.
Yes, very much so.
And I forgot that. Okay. And then after Schulenburg, y'all are now in Nakona, right?
Yes. So we were in Schulenburg for 23 years, I believe. And we raised the boys there. And Tyler went to Texas Tech from there. And then we moved to Nakona 5 years ago.
Wow. What is Nakona like? I see some stuff about it like on Facebook. It looks like a fun little town.
It is a great town. You know, when we decided to move, Dave wanted to move north because of the humidity for the cows. So we always joke about that. It is a great town. I love being close to Fort Worth. It's an awesome little town. So, and got so much history with the Chisholm Trail and leather and all sorts of fun things. So I say it's the hidden North Hill country up here.
Because Bar A, we started working together a long time ago. Yes, I'm just pulled it up right now. It was December of 2002 when you and I did our first project together.
Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Long time. Long time.
Well, let's talk about the brand co because we order a lot of our merch from y'all and we love it. We work with Carissa, but I mean, we love the brand co and let's talk about that. How did you mentioned a little bit how it got started, but tell us a little bit more about that company.
We started, Tessa had her business, and then I ended up starting brand company in about 2000. Oh, let me think, 2005 or 6. And so it just was such a natural transition to really go after ag and just our network, really, and just realize that there's really no businesses that aren't using promotional products.
Mhm.
So it was just such a fun experience to be able to do sales and come up with creative products for this business because we were just so involved in it. So it was just very exciting for me to have something that I could be with my kids and do from home and be able to work on the ranch and help with all of that too. So it was just perfect.
Hi, it's Rachel Cottrere, founder of Ranch House Designs. When I started RHD over 25 years ago, it was with one simple goal: to help ranchers build better marketing so they can have higher sales and more profits, and ultimately, more success. And here's the thing: our team at Ranch House gets what it's like to be in the agriculture industry because we live it every single day. We know what it's like to juggle cattle, kids, and careers while still chasing big dreams. That's why our branding, websites, and marketing strategies are built to work in the real world for people just like you. If you're ready to grow your brand, request a free consultation today at ranchhousedesigns.com. So in marketing, you probably know this, but like one of the basic principles of marketing is it's called the law of duality. And it means, like, for our listeners, it means that when consumers are making a choice of where they want to buy, like they usually have two ideas that pop into your head. Like, for example, if you're like, oh, I want a cheeseburger, a fast food burger for lunch, you may think in your head, okay, do I want to go to Sonic or McDonald's? Or if you're like, I need to repaint my bathroom this weekend. Do I go to Lowe's or Home Depot? So at that time, I'm thinking, was your biggest competitor ShowString?
Yes, I would say back then, yes, for sure, Showstring.
And so their model would have been like taking an embroidery trailer to all the stock shows and embroidering your cap while you wait at the show, and single caps. Did y'all ever go that route, or yours was always based on personal service? Like personal.
No, we really based ours on personal service. And I have always thought I did not want to necessarily run the machines. So we have had a contract embroiderer screen printer for the same one for 20 plus years, because what I found is I wanted to be able to send that out so that I could really work on the other side of it, if that makes sense. And there's so much to do with, as far as like those embroidery machines, they're so complicated and all of that. I mean, you've got maintenance on them and all that. So we really decided that was not going to be our business model. And it is really interesting because so many people look at competition and think, oh my gosh, I can't compete with them. But you have to look at how you can make your business different than theirs and not look at it as competition. There are so many people and there's just so much room for other people in all business. And so you just have to figure out what works for you and also embrace your competition. Figure out what makes you different.
Yeah, because your product offering is so diverse, where maybe someone like a show string, their specialty was embroidered caps and jackets, but you can do cozies and, you can do gift items and gift baskets and tech gear, and you could do any type of promotional product, not just you're instead of a very small niche.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And plus, like show strength was on the road. And so that was not what I needed at that time with little kids. So I think you just have to look at your personal experience and see what works for you. And you need to showcase what you're good at. I think that's the best thing to do in business. So,
Yeah, well, when you said you didn't want to run the machine, I really respect that, because to me, that's the difference of people. You can either, Brandon and I, relating it to ranching, we have this conversation all the time. If Brandon had his way, he would just mow pastures all day. He just loves mowing.
Dave would stand in the show barn and wash cows all day.
Yeah, I'm like, you cannot like be a leading progressive seed stock breeder if all you're doing is mowing pastures.
That's hilarious because I would like to mow pastures also. It's my favorite thing on the side is to mow grass. So,
Yeah, so I love the fact that you recognize that you wanted to offer this, but you wanted to be in the business at a high level and not necessarily just in the grassroots trenches of it every day, because that's how you can scale a business. If you needed, you could find another embroidery company if you have a huge, order, but you don't want to sit there 24 hours a day sewing caps, you know.
exactly, exactly. Because there's so much more to this business than just that. I found that that's a part of it, but a there's a whole side of it that nobody even realizes out there or that we do.
Do you have like any favorite products or, projects that you've been involved with through the years?
Yeah, there has been some. We did Brooks and Dunn's jacket one time for a muffler company. That was super fun. That was a leather bomber jacket. We had cherry bomb on it, and he wore it at one of the music awards shows, and that was really exciting when you get to see things like that because you're like, I made that. So that was fun. One thing I really love to do is stuff for veterans. So I've gotten to work with different veterans associations and donate items for different fundraisers they've had. Veterans associations have had galas and such as in Fort Worth. And I just love to give back to the military. It just gave me so much. And I just think that that's so important. And I love working on projects like that. And especially even with youth and ag, that's another one that I love to work with. So that's why we love working with all the youth groups like the Junior Hereford Association, things like that. So those are my favorite projects that are close to my heart.
Yeah, the thing I like about working with y'all is I usually can tell Carissa, this is our budget and find me something cool. And I may, like, literally, that's what I tell her. I don't like say anything else. And she comes back with just a wide variety of different things, whether it's a bag or something techy or something for the home. And then we can choose, and it just makes it really easy, to know that you're getting a really high quality, unique promotional piece that's going to be different than what everybody else has. I love
Yes, and I think everybody can go on for imprint. I would say now that's my biggest competition is for imprint, and they do a great job. And but that's not. I always say that's not us. You can go on for imprint and order something, but we know the livestock business and we know what works for the people in the industry. And so I think that's what makes us unique. So, for example, like there's certain caps that Dave Allen is not going to wear or Brandon's not going to wear because, and we know that. And so we're not going to try to sell you on a foam trucker for them. Like we'll do a phone trucker for youth, but we're not going to tell you that that because that's a popular cap that we think that that would work for that age group. So I think that's what makes us separate from somebody like for imprint. So you really do have to look at your competition differently and say I'm not competitive with for imprint because what we do is different.
Yes, definitely. That's funny because one of our recent orders for caps, I had to specify these are Molly's caps because they were that whole foam trucker type
Yes, exactly.
for Molly. These are not for us.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it is fun to watch the trends too. I think it's just that's what's so fun about my business is it can be very trendy and we can find the trends everywhere and I just think it's just a really fun business to be in.
What are some of the more popular items you would say right now?
Oh gosh, it's changing so fast. I think the promotional products business is great because they always try to find the a product that everybody uses, but then they change it. So, for example, even at the state show, we got a cup as a prize that had a speaker in the bottom of it. So they take the product that's a normal product and then they change it up just a touch. So they're really doing high tech products. So there's a lot of chargers, there's a lot of tech accessories, there's a lot of the caps are changing to an old school retro style. The t-shirts are kind of going back to that. I saw a ringer style the other day. So it's really fun because now they're kind of going back to the 90s with, the oversized, the mock neck, the so fun some fun things like that are pretty trendy right now is really going old school back to the 90s.
One thing you did for us, oh, it might have been 5 years ago, but you did a laundry bag for BRC and we gave it out at as like an exhibitor gift at our junior nationals. So you think you're at junior nationals and everybody has a week's worth of dirty clothes. And so y'all had came up with this and it was like a tie-dyed laundry bag. And it is our best, most successful promo we've ever given. Even this year at junior nationals, I saw someone at the hotel carrying all their dirty laundry.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was awesome, and we still use them, of course. But it was just like y'all's expertise giving us a suggestion that totally worked. I love it.
Yes, and that's what I always say. Carissa is in the middle of it. Her kids are both showing and livestock judging, and we know what these kids are using and what we use. I don't think you can ever have enough laundry bags for a junior national. I mean, so it is fun to find the products that you see people use over and over again.
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about Gene Source and maybe Gene Source and Barre. Because y'all are like us. You have a like a business, like you have Branco and I have Ranch House, but then you'll also have a cattle business too. And so, what is? Tell us a little bit about Gene Source and then maybe a dynamic of what it's like working with your spouse every day.
Yes. So we started Gene Source. I'm probably going to get this wrong, and Tyler and Dave are going to correct me. Between 2011 and 2012, that was when we were dealing with droughts and we were really wanting to diversify and realized we needed to add something to the list. So we saw a need for a semen distributor at that time. And so we decided to go for it and take that risk. And we are just strictly a semen distributor and we do all breeds. And it's just really been a fun business to add because it's all the same customers. I always tell Dave that's what makes it so fun is every day somebody that comes in walks in to get semen might also need caps. And then they walk out to the show barn and look at the Hereford heifers. And so it's just fun because it's kind of the same customers in all three of them. So that's what makes it fun on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's a great point. So is Tyler involved in Gene Source?
Yes. So the best thing about Gene Source is it gave us the ability to have one of our kids come back and work in the business. And so Tyler graduated from Texas Tech. And at that time, we were really needing some help with Gene Source. And so I basically told him, if you would like to come back to Gene Source, we would love to have you. But if you would like to do something else, you're more than welcome, but you can give this a shot and see how you like it. And I'm really proud to say that he has embraced it and I think he really enjoys it. And now we have his fiance Haley here, and it's just been a great addition to have him come back to Gene Source and see the next generation doing this. And that's been really fun.
Yes, that is great. So did things ever get stressful or working in the office with you?
Yes, I think it's definitely a unique situation when you're working with your spouse every day. I can't imagine not working with your spouse every day because Dave and I have literally been doing it since the day we got married, which I think is super unique, just like you and Brandon. We spend all day, every day together, but you're also, sometimes hardly ever see each other because you're so busy in the businesses. So, but when you add your children back in, I also think that gives you a whole another perspective, and it's really fun to see people in the industry having their kids come back. Brett Horn has Jagger come back, and it's just so fun to see these families that the next generation is coming back and continuing your business. I remember somebody said at a talk or something like that if you don't have your kids come back, then what's going to happen to your business? And that's always struck me because I think for a while in ag, everybody wanted their kids to go out and experience something else and not come back. And I think in ag now, we need to embrace our kids coming back to our businesses because we have got to continue ag, and that's how it's going to happen, is that next generation being involved in our family businesses and continuing those family businesses.
Mhm. In experiencing that, have you felt like you had to intentionally maybe step back or let go of the reins a little bit so that you allow Tyler to, learn and grow?
Yes, I think there is definitely a balance. And I think there's definitely a balance of being, am I his employer or am I his mom? And I think that's a balance. And I think it's something we have to work on all the time. And I would say Tyler and I are very much alike as far as headstrong and passionate, and I think that you can tangle up when things like that happen. But the nice thing is both of us like communication. And so I always look at it as like, okay, step back and look at how we're handling certain situations. And I think you just have to be very open and honest and work on it daily. It's such a privilege to be able to have our kids involved with us. I just feel so lucky every day that I get to do this and that my kids get to come back and do something with us.
Yeah, I can tell you're very passionate about it. Well, thinking about both of these businesses, do you have any like hacks or cheats or, things that have really made your life easier, whether it's like a, computer program or a different like a scheduling tool or it's a group text or anything like that that helps make it all manageable?
I think you really have to look at what's available to you to make your business run better. So, for example, one of the great things with Gene Source is I reached out to you and I said, we have to change our system. We need to, you know, take Gene Source to a different level. And reached out to you with Ranch House and said, can you set up our Shopify? And y'all were great to work with. And we now have Gene Source on Shopify. And it's been great for our business. And your businesses have to grow and you have to reach out and look for ways to change is hard sometimes, but you have to change in order to get to that next level. Like social media is changing businesses so fast, and websites are changing, and where we're doing advertising is changing. But you have to reach out to people like you and say, what's our best option? So I really do think things like Shopify helped. For brand company, we use a software called Common SKU, and that completely changed our business because we can send presentations out and we're not sending documents out through, Word anymore. And, we go from a presentation to a sales order to a purchase order to an invoice all on one software. And that's really changed our business. But I think you really have to be open to change as a hack to grow your businesses and be looking constantly at what's working and what's not working.
Well, like in the Shopify, we've talked about it, so Shopify essentially uh, changed or gave a different ordering method to where people don't have to call you and give their credit card information over the phone. They could do it on their own on Shopify, which means you could get orders at any time of the day. You're not having to handle their credit card information. It's secure. It automated a lot of your ordering process, and the same sounds like for Common SKU. And now you have a clear track record and like I guess not like a checklist, but you can go back and say, well,
But a system, yes.
system. Yeah.
And I know you are the same way in your businesses as far as I feel like you have done such a great job on having systems in your businesses.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Anything that we can take as a repeatable, task, we build a systems checklist for it so that we make sure everything gets done, and it's great for efficiency like that. Yeah. Well, let's move into talking about stock show mom life if you for a while. So can't even fathom what it's like to be a mom of three boys.
No, not many people can.
And I've always heard like the dynamic really changes when the number of kids outnumber the number of parents, like 3 to 2, So what does the stock show life look like for y'all's family?
It's pretty crazy, but I would say it is so much fun. We show steers and heifers, and which is unique, and we show Hereford heifers through the Hereford Association programs. Like we go to the junior nationals, and we have just had such a blessing with those organizations to raise our kids in. All three boys have participated in so many different programs that junior association provided, and we just can't thank them enough. It is crazy. We love doing Texas majors. We love doing junior nationals, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hmm. So y'all show the purebred Herefords. On the steer side of things, do y'all also show purebred Herefords, or do you do all breeds?
We kind of stick to the Hereford steers, but we branch out every once in a while.
Yeah, I love that. So it's like it because I love the Texas majors, don't get me wrong, I love those, but going to a state breed association show or the junior nationals, there's nothing like it. And I love that. That's what we do too. I would say that's our main emphasis is like the Junior Brahmin Association, and then we do jackpots on the side, but the state and all American is what we love.
Yes, absolutely.
So do y'all typically show at the Texas majors?
Yes, we show at all of the Texas majors.
Okay. Steers and heifers usually.
Yes, so basically from January to April, we're not home. So
So are your kids in public school or are they homeschooled? Or when y'all were showing, I guess.
they were in a private school in Schulenburg. Then they moved to Flatonia. The older boys were. Landry is now at Prairie Valley in eighth grade here, which turned out really convenient because it's literally across from the ranch. So it is a public school, but it's very small. He's got 13 kids in his class. So we've been very lucky with the public schools and them understanding what we do and letting them off for stock shows. So we've been very lucky. And then Carissa homeschools her kids. So it's fun to see both sides. So
Any funny or memorable mom moments that kind of stick out from the road?
Oh gosh, so many memorable moments. In fact, I always laugh because I think we're an open book family and everybody always knows our funny stories. And we always joke about, going to Waffle House and all those fun things. We just have such a great time with all the kids that help us. And it's been really fun with all the college kids now come with us to junior nationals. And Landry has, I don't know how many big brothers now because we've just had so many great kids help us on the road. And one of the most memorable moments was I was pregnant with Landry. We had taken, I don't know how many to the junior national, and it was literally just Dave and I and my parents. So we had no hired hands, and I was had started Shop Hereford, I think back in 2005 is what we were looking at. And so I was actually running a booth with Shop Hereford at the Junior National. We had cattle. We actually brought our camper. So I was dragging the camper behind the Suburban. I was 8 months pregnant. This was in July. I gave birth August 1st. And on the way to Kansas City, I we were about 30 minutes out and I ran over a boulder with the camper and high centered the camper on the boulder. And my mom said, she got out to look and she said, "Oh no, this is really bad. I think we're going to have to get somebody to get you off of this thing." And I said, "Oh no, we have to get to the junior national." And so I said, "Get in." And she got in and I just floored it and ran right off the boulder. And Dave was in the truck and trailer with the cattle. And so we ended up getting to the show. And like I always say, if it doesn't have four legs, Dave's not really concerned about it. And so I kept telling him, we need to look at this camper because I really think I screwed it up and like it's not good. And we didn't look at it the entire trip. And I had ended up breaking the axle on that camper. But we always joke because we ended up leaving that camper in Kansas City for, I think, 2 months. And we ended up driving home without the camper because there was no way to get that thing home. So that was one of the funniest stories we ever had was the camper on the boulder story. But everybody knows I'm a crazy driver. So we have multiple stories with me and driving. So, but there's always fun stories at junior nationals. That's what makes this whole business great.
If you had to say what are your maybe your proudest moments or biggest wins or best thing you have experienced with your kids showing, what would those be?
I would say that our biggest wins aren't the banners. I would say our biggest wins are our kids and what they have done in this business and and it's not the banners, it's the confidence that they've made, it's the friendships. The friendships is what is just priceless. I'd give up every banner for all the friendships that we've made in this business. And I think the boys would say the same thing. All the people they've met at all the junior nationals are their lifelong friends, the ones that they met when they were, 5 and 6. I think it's so fun when you have an age spread with our kids, is seeing when that, 5 or 6 year old, or even, I mean, sometimes it's later, but it's that show when that child finds their group and you know that that group is going to be their best friends for life. And I think that's what is just the most rewarding is you see those friendships and now they're grown. For example, Brad and Barbara was here this weekend, and Tar and Bryden were judging this weekend at a jackpot show. And it's just so fun to see them all grow up and be these successful people. And it's because of the livestock industry and what it's given our kids. It's given them ample opportunities to go to leadership camps, and the Hereford Association does such a great job. I mean, we got to see Temple Grandin in Colorado and go to Colorado State, and they have opportunities for you to go visit universities and see different programs that, like Mason has said before, I would have never gone to that college and looked at their programs. And now I've gotten to and seen what's out there and what's available to them. So I can't thank those associations enough for giving our kids those opportunities. So it's really about that and not the banners.
I love that. And I agree. We're shifting a little bit towards wrapping up, but the theme of this podcast is grit and grace. And I feel like the story that you just told about you and your mom, like punching it over the camper boulder, is a great example of grit. You probably had to grit your teeth and you just put the pedal to the metal. Can you give us an example of how you think we can show grace in the industry to others?
I think that this industry is perfect to show grit and grace because there's so many times in this business that we're very competitive, but you have to realize that those people are going to be with you for the next, hopefully, 30 years, and you're going to see those people again. And so when we're in the ring and get beat, you have to show grace, and you have to realize that it's just a day and it's just another show, and you have to give grace to everybody. I feel like that's such a good word because I think we go through life not realizing what other people are going through. Also, there's so many people going through hardships, and we've lost some great people in the last 2 weeks. And I will say I've seen such grit and grace at those funerals, and those women inspire me so much. VB Thomas and Beth Pembroke, and they're the epitome of grit and grace. So I think in this industry, the women are so strong. And I think that I'm amazed by the women in this industry. And that's the perfect 2 words to describe them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I love it. I just kind of got chills when you were saying that because it is so true. It's everything you said was wonderful. I love it. Okay, 2 more questions and then we're wrapping up. So these are easy too. And we like to ask everyone to share their favorite boutique of like where they're shopping and getting like stock show fashion right now. And then your favorite brand of mascara. Cause it's a little inside joke. If you haven't heard it, like I don't wear makeup at all, but I don't ever leave my house without wearing at least mascara.
Well, let's see. I don't really have a favorite. Well, I would say I love watching Macy at Cactus Joys. It's so fun to see that next generation building their businesses. And so I think that's been really fun to watch her at Cactus Joys. And then my mascara, gosh, that's kind of funny because thank goodness my future daughter-in-law is incredible with makeup and hair. And so it's like an orange and pink thing of mascara. I have no idea what the name of it at all, but she just tells me what to buy, and I just buy whatever she tells me now.
I love it.
Yeah, you can tell I'm really into makeup when I don't even know what I'm wearing. Most of the time I don't have it on. So
Yeah. Well, Becky, this has been great. As we wrap up, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your story, from your background to building all your businesses to raising boys. You embody grit and grace and we love you. And listeners, if y'all want to connect with Becky, tell them your Instagram handle or what's the way that you want people to check y'all out.
yes, you can look at Barre Cattle on Facebook and Instagram. We have our sale coming up October 12th. We'll be selling heifers and or having our elite heifer sale. We've got Gene Source on Instagram and Facebook at Gene Source. And Brand Co Life is our handle on Instagram and The Brand Company on Facebook.
All right. Well, thank you again, Becky.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next time on Grit and Grace.